came up with. He's like, oh, I didn't think of doing it that way, but what you've come up with is perfectly valid, so your method works. How much we got left to go? Still 84,000. Oh. Oops. And we got 10,000 in the truck, so 8,000. It's about half full. I don't think what else I've got going on. I really need to get back to putting together benches. Problem is, we've had so much motoring costs in the last year, kind of a little short on money to do hobbies with. And last month we had chip in the Saab front window, so we called the glass people round to fix it, and he tapped it and it just split the windshield, so we had to get a brand new windshield, which wasn't really planned for. And then the Honda van had quite a bad oil leak. So they had to basically take the engine apart and replace the gaskets. It was nothing more than that, but it was a lot of work to replace a few gaskets to stop the oil leak. And then both side front rockers needed to be replaced. And what was the other thing that needed? Oh, the cabin filter needed replaced, so sort of, yeah, well, since we're doing all the rest of the stuff and that's like $50, you can do that. And an insert for the rear wash, the wiper blade needed replaced, which I'm happy I did that, because I couldn't see out the back window. It was all streaky all the time. So that only came to 1,200. They quoted us about 1,900 for that, but that only came in at 1,200. So that was kind of nice, but that's still 1,200 we weren't expecting to, or we could have done without spending this month. But now that's all done. So long as Mrs. Osa doesn't break the car while she's visiting the family, we should be good. And we may even make it through to Christmas before we have to spend a bunch more money. Or not. I still need about $100 of lumber, but I don't have the money for that right now. I might need some more screws and things. I thought I'd bought all the screws I needed, all the lumber for legs I need. I just haven't bought the frames yet, so I've got one frame to assemble, which I haven't done yet. Mrs. Osa said I'm not allowed to do that this week because she's not going to be here. And so maybe I'll get to that next week, or later this coming week. And we do have a holiday weekend. That's the other thing. We've had a lot of rain recently, so the grass is growing crazy. I'm not allowed to do the grass today either. Not that I can, because it's soaked. But yeah, she won't let me do the grass, because last time she went away, I did the grass and got stung by a bee and ended up in the emergency room for 4 hours. And that's the only time I've ever been stung by a bee while I'm cutting the grass, was when she wasn't here. Last time I went out, last weekend I went out and cut the grass, and I did find a bee's nest in the middle of the yard. They dug a hole in the grass, and yay, there's bees. So I cut round them. So there's our yard has a mohawk where the bees live. Keep doing that. I could do with some lamps in this yard. Yeah, we could kind of do with a light source in the yard. Maybe that will be a thing soon too. I mean, we've got a good amount of money. I don't think they cost that much as their decorations. But it is going to get exceptionally dark, I imagine. So yeah, we had a major thunderstorm on Thursday night. So much so, I think I was sitting watching a YouTube video and my phone went off. Severe weather, possible tornadoes, large hailstones expected. So shelter in place. And at that point I thought, probably a good idea to put the van in the garage. And so we had a lot of lightning and thunder, but no rain at that point. So I ran outside. I put the van in the garage, primarily so as not to get more broken windows, because they're like $350 a throw, even after insurance. Not too worried about the house. We've just had a new roof installed, so if there was hail damage, then that should pretty much be covered almost 100%. As it was, we didn't get hail, we got torrential rain, and a lot of thunder and lightning, and a lot of wind. So there were a fair number of trees down. The power was out all around us, and we still had power all through the night, so that was good. The storms departed probably around about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And then got up in the morning. All the tomato plants were trashed. That said, a small green tomato I picked about 4 weeks ago has finally turned red as of this morning. It was still green last night, so that's cool. I have some red tomatoes sat on the kitchen window ledge. And then the wooden frames that Mrs. Osa bought for the peas to climb were all knocked over, and the peas were pretty flattened. They hadn't quite got to climbing stage yet, but they were pretty flattened, so that's not so good a thing. They may recover. Beans are fine. As I said, the tomatoes are completely decimated. The green peppers were badly damaged and look like they're done. Do I have a... no, not that one. Oh, front work lights. There we go. That works. Although I think we got all that we're going to get from the green peppers. habanero plant, a little bit smaller than the green peppers, so not as badly damaged. Although it only actually has, we picked one. It has 2 more growing and then it's done. We have another pepper plant that produces tiny sort of 1/2 inch long red peppers. They're not particularly big. They do have quite a severe kick to them. That plant got squashed by the wooden frames that the peas were growing on. I did make a chili and I used 4 of those peppers. It's not as spicy as I thought it would be, and it's more like a sweet chili rather than a kick the back of your head out spicy chili, which is kind of interesting. Okay, how are we doing with this? 15, 16, 17. This might fill it. I don't know. Oh, 150 litres spare. Well, that's what it is. I'm going to scoop that up. And she just planted some beans in August as well. And the beans look to be fine. They're not climbing beans, they're just bean plants, kind of like soybeans. Don't grow very high, but bushy. And they haven't been growing enough to get all that damaged by the weather. Back one? Yes. And I did use basic tomatoes to put in the chili rather than chopped tomatoes from a tin. That might have had something to do with the sweet chili flavour as opposed to the quite harsh chili flavour that I'm used to. But I've still got maybe 3 more meals chilies to go. So I might have some tonight, maybe some tomorrow. If this is where it gets difficult. Somewhere here. Somewhere right there. I'm being followed. I'm not going to go with the beacons on. So I reckoned we were going to get to 80,000. I think we're going to get to more than 80,000 here. I think the value's dropping though. But yeah, that's my food escapades for the week. I usually, when Mrs. Osa goes away, I'll make a spicy chili because She doesn't like tomatoes in her chili. She doesn't like mushrooms in her chili. Although I didn't have any mushrooms on me this time, so no mushrooms in this week's chili. She's not a fan of very spicy food, so when she's not here, I can make a chili like I like it. So I'll take advantage of that. Now, we did hear her sister is going to be visiting the family. Now, her sister lives in Washington State, so I think she left about 12 years ago, and hasn't been back. Her kids are now, the last one turned 18 yesterday. So, you know, she used to have 4 kids, single mother, and because of the way welfare works, you're better off not having a job. She had a small part-time job, and they wanted to promote her, and she would have been worse off promoted than she was on her current salary, because it would have pushed her over a threshold that would have eliminated one of her groups of benefits. And so, you know, you then have to work more to make up the difference, but if you work too much more, you never make up the difference and you lose another benefit. So government kind of keeps you in poverty by that mechanic. But now that her kids have left home, when she works more, she doesn't have to go send the kids to daycare, because they don't have to go to daycare, they can look after themselves. So I think 3 of them are still at home and work, so they're helping with the household income. And the 4th one got married and has her own family. So she can now afford to come and visit the family. So she's coming just after Mrs. Osa's birthday, at the end of September. So Mrs. Osa's planning to go and visit with her sister, because she hasn't had much opportunity to visit anyone. I think the last time she really spent time with the family was February of 2020, and she came home on Monday, and the governors of both Michigan and Ohio at midnight on Monday basically said, yes, we're locking down the state to flatten the curve. So since then, you know, for the rest of that year, she couldn't go and visit the family, and then she had all her medical issues and hasn't been up to driving herself anywhere. I've been using all of my vacation time to take her to the hospital, visit her in the hospital and everything else, and so I didn't have the time to take off to take her to visit the family, and I'm still at the end of that stretch. So she hasn't really visited the family since 2020, and it's now 2023. So we had her aunt died earlier this year, so she did make 2 trips out then for sort of long weekends, and that was really the first visit she's made with the family in 2 years, 3 years. There's then the annual reunion this weekend, which I don't have any vacation time, so I can't go to, but she has managed to go for that. And then, as I said, her sister's coming, so she's going to go back for that too. Though she's she may not take teenage Osa with her. We'll see. That way, yes. So of course, once I get past the end of September, I'm going to have all my vacation time, or at least half a year's vacation time, accrued, which I think works out to approximately, wow, that was a mess, 2 weeks. But most of the medical checkups Mrs. Osa can drive herself, so I don't have to worry about that. And then next year I'll actually be able to do some vacationing down to Ohio or whatever. We'll see what we can do then. So there might be a few more missed streams after spring next year. We don't usually travel because Michigan, and you make plans and it snows. But come spring we might be able to do weekends away. Will be a good thing. I'm up over 80,000. So I think once I've finished unloading this bunker, I think I can cut the grass October 3. So we'll cut it, windrow it, and stick it in that bunker to ferment. I would have the option, then it's going to be October, November. I'd like to finish off the field work in the cornfield. That really depends on the equipment I can get hold of. I'm probably going to go with a subsoiler. I'm going to give that grass subsoiler a run through the field, see if it does remove the need to plough, or whether we have to have grass in a field to do that. As I said, it might be possible to plant a grass cover crop, roll it, or subsoil it, and see where we go from there. If I can eliminate the needs ploughed state, then I don't have to get a plough right now. Both ploughs are both of the used ploughs are very close to, well, one of them's too big and the other one's just on the cusp of the horsepower availability of our Ultra Q. So not, it's going to be a struggle to use it. Okay, 37,000 litres left. There's probably going to be 2 full loads and some scraps. Might be a bucket, knowing my luck. kind of makes me want to trade in this little green trailer for the big black one, because then we'll be able to move 22,500 litres instead of 18.5. It's 2 more buckets. 32. Still, we can check the store tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm guessing a lot of equipment that we were using today will cycle out. So the smaller cultivator won't be available. Now, if I do subsoiler, then I don't know. The problem, if I wanted to plant grass as a cover crop, that's kind of a bit of a problem, because I'll need a seeder, and then if I want to plant maize, I will need a planter. So I'll need 2 pieces of equipment. Not that there's much options for either right now. But if I'm planting the yellow stuff, corn, squeeze, I'm probably going to need a cultivator or subsoiler, just because I don't have, or I'm probably not going to be able to afford a direct planter. They're kind of on the upper end pricey side of things, unless one just happens to come in the sales at a really good price.